Hello and welcome to another episode of the Star Bros podcast, the 40th episode, 40. And I'm joined by my bro host, Ben Skywalker.
Sorry about that. I'm joined by my bro host, Jan Solo.
And we are joined by a special guest tonight. We are joined by our bro host, Chris Ryons, who's going to be joining us to contribute to the conversation about episodes 1 and 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. Or should I say chapters 1 and 2?
Chapters 1 and 2. Yeah,
chapters 1 and 2.
They're continuing the chapters theme, which is really cool. I like that. That was a nice little touch, personally.
Which I think is really cool. And by the way, I just read this tonight. Ming-Na Wen said that the first chapter of the Book of Boba Fett, when they got the scripts in hand, the number was 301.
Why is that?
Well, we can speculate that it is picking up exactly where Mandalorian Season 2 left off. And so it's sort of Mandalorian Season 2.5, maybe, the third act in whatever that story is going to be. So I'm wondering if it's setting up stuff for the Mandalorian, but getting ahead of myself.
Okay. No, that's where my mind went. So
yeah. Anyway. How are you guys doing?
Good. Chris, how are you? Welcome.
Good. Thank you. See, it is great to finally be on.
I know you are on. You were texting us this week and we're like, guys, when am I going to get on?
You're like, how about now? Like,
we know people. We can make that happen.
we can do it. Whatever. Let's just do it. But no, we will have you on again for a more specific, I don't know. We got to figure out something really fun to talk about. But part of the reason COVID really sucks right now. And we're like, we need to just be virtual. And then we're like, you know what? If we're virtual, this is a good time to get Chris.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're here making it happen. So yeah. How's the store doing? Everything going good?
Yeah, I can't. I can complain, but I'm not. I can definitely complain, but yeah, everything's going all right.
If you do need to complain, we're here. We can listen to you right now. Do you have any?
You're not ready. You're not ready.
I'm not ready.
Crap. Oh no,
that bad?
We only have so much time with the podcast, and we will never get to anything about Boba Fett.
Well, so maybe there's our topic for when we have you back. The crazy stories that we hear in the comic book store.
There are so many. There are so many.
We'll have to make that actually happen. So, Jan, what are we talking about today?
So we're going to, of course, hit our news, and then we're going to talk about chapters 1 and 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. So this is as good a time as any to mention that this is going to be spoiler-ridden. So if you haven't watched either one of these, we may be talking about them interchangeably a little bit. I think we're going to go chapter by chapter, but if you haven't seen both of them, go watch both of them and then come back and join us for this conversation. We don't want to spoil any of this stuff because it is dynamite, in my opinion. I tweeted yesterday, I think this is top tier Star Wars. I really do. So far, I am really, really impressed. But hey, maybe we'll jump into our first segment, whatever that's called.
What is that called? Oh, news from across the galaxy. It's so much different when it's not in person.
It seems really childish when it's not in person.
It seems more childish. You're exactly right. Even though, like, what in person, it's not.
For some reason, it feels it doesn't. It flies in person. This is just embarrassing because I can see myself on the screen doing that.
So you're watching yourself making the noise. You're like, I look really dumb right now.
I am completely ashamed. But what do we have in the news, Ben?
We have nothing. There is no news right now. On that bombshell, let's move into segment 2 now. No, we have 2 pieces of news, and we'll get to the second one as part of our second segment. Boba Fett. And I was mentioning before we hit record, like whenever there's a series going on, like that's the news. There's really nothing else to worry about coming out because they want you to completely focus on that. But we did get one thing in the world of the High Republic, and that is the new Claudia Gray book, Fallen Star, has been released, and you can go and pick it up wherever you pick up your books, preferably at the comic book shop on South Street. That would be where I would go personally, right?
Well,
can you get it there?
Maybe not. We can get novels. We don't normally keep them in stock, but yeah,
it's more common.
Right? If you go to Audible, you can get it. For the audiobook, that's what I do. I do the audiobooks.
what you do is you go buy the book wherever, and then you go
Yeah.
down to Atomic City and you buy a bunch of comic books and hang out and talk about the book and other cool stuff with the cool people that work there.
Yeah, you get all the Marvel comic tie-ins and
Yeah.
make sure you catch up on those. That's a good
Get
point.
all that and talk for like 2 minutes max, because go home and read the books.
Yeah.
Get out of my face.
Don't give me COVID.
Don't give me COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
I just got out of the back to tank. I don't want to go back in.
Put your mask on. Talk to me for keep your distance.
Go
Talk
down
for 2
to
minutes. Then you gotta go.
Ishkabibbles 2, get a
Go down to
cheesesteak.
yeah, go down there. Go home and read the books.
Yep.
Well,
Enjoy.
you've gotten what a few hours into listening to it, and you liking it so far? Obviously, spoiler free. We're not gonna...
we're not. Yeah, not spoiling nothing. Yeah. I'm digging it so far. I love just like Daniel Jose Older, who and we'll be reviewing Midnight Horizon when that comes out in February. He's got a particular vernacular that he brings to Star Wars, which I think is refreshing and is needed. And Claudia Gray, her style is along those same lines, and I love that the way she writes and explains things, and the dialogue that she has for her characters, and the mystery just deepens with the Geode character. There's so many questions everyone's got for that one. So so yeah. So far, this book, I'm not saying a thing about it, but it's really good. It's really good so far.
I'm glad that Geode is getting a little bit more spotlight, because I feel there are two camps of fans out there. There's the camp that we won't talk about too much, that it's like, really, a rock? What are you doing? Won't talk about them. But then there's the fans that
they have no joy in their lives, so they can understand the staggering drawing power of a sentient rock.
Yeah, exactly. This is just too much for them.
Yeah.
Whatever. But then there's the group that's like, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
That's more where we are. We're like, I
the
want to see
adventurous type.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm totally open to this, and I really want to know more.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure to go pick that up. I can't wait to get to it. I'm just in the middle of the Kevin Scott book, and then as soon as I'm done with that, jumping right into Claudia Gray's.
You're still in the middle of Rising Storm?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So listen, once that's over, you're going to want to take a small break for your own mental health.
I've heard. I have heard.
Because you're not going to want to jump into anything just yet. You're going to want to jump off a bridge. It's that good, and it's filled with that much despair.
With a bungee cord, right?
That's out.
You got to think about that too long.
I had to think.
Kevin Scott has that effect on you.
I mean, there's that hashtag. Kevin Scott knows what he did.
Yes,
he knows what he did.
He knows,
and he's smiling about it. He's got red laser eyes whenever it happens.
When you tweet stuff like Kevin Scott knows what he did, Kevin Scott's killing me, he'll like it. He likes it.
He's like, yes.
He'll scroll through, and I could just picture him grinning like the Grinch and just being really pleased with himself.
He's like, I've broken another fanboy.
Yeah, he has to write these books wearing a black cloak. Like, he has to. It's a black hooded cloak.
Remember
typing away.
The one time he was talking about having writer's block on Twitter, and how he was spending his time filling his fountain pens. And I was like, somebody take that ink away from him.
Diabolical.
He's done enough damage over the last couple of years. We all need a little bit of a break. But then
are we sure?
I said, I don't know what it could be. But right away I'm like, I'm ready to
pieces
be
of his
again.
soul.
Soul ink or blood.
He's taking it from Charles Soule. Anyway, we're going too far.
But we're all ready to be hurt again, Kevin. Keep it coming.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, though. It is fantastic writing. So you're hurting me, but keep it coming.
Yeah, keep it coming.
Yeah. Once I just recover from my bridge jump, apparently.
Yes.
So anyway, go pick up that book. I can't wait to get to it. I've really liked what they've done so far. So this is wrapping up phase 1, or is it starting phase 2? Which one is it?
I think phase 1 is it's wrapping it up.
Yeah. So this is wrapping up the first phase of the High Republic series, and
now it's about to get dark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, what have we been going through if it's about to get dark?
Right. Well, it's been pretty heavy.
Usually phase 1 ends on the light note and phase 2 ends on the dark note. So what does that mean?
It's just going to get progressively worse.
Yep.
Buckle
up,
do this
friends.
to me. Buckle up, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we're about to punch it. That's the best segue you could ever provide, Jan. Thank
Hey.
you so much. So let's get to the other piece of news. Chris is like, I'm dropping from the show right now. Let's get to the other piece of news, which is not news. We're just going to go right into segment 2 because
What's that one called?
I don't know. You tell me.
I think that one's called More to the Story.
Dun, 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 dun. I feel stupid. We need to just wait until we're back in person to do this. So what are we talking about? We are talking about episodes 1 and 2, chapters 1 and 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. Both have dropped on Disney Plus as a late Christmas present for all Star Wars fans out there. There wasn't, I would say, a ton of positive response, or I should say enough positive response from the first episode, but wow, everyone has come out of the woodwork in support of the second chapter. Like I would say that was some of the best storytelling I've seen in Star Wars and in all of the Disney Plus series so far. So, but I should say, for myself at least, chapter 1 was still really good. It was slower. It was setting the stage.
It was a setup, yeah.
But it wasn't bad.
and it was
that.
short. It was short. I think people
Yes.
expected the first episode out of the box to be an hour long and have all this exposition and stuff, but they need to set stuff up, and they needed to answer lingering questions that people have been asking for decades, and they had to address that stuff. And I sort of like the quiet, slow introduction to Boba Fett in Jabba's castle. Presumably that Bacta tank, I guess, is in Jabba's like personal quarters, like up in what used to be his bedroom. And we have to orient to all that stuff before you start really digging into like the politics he's going to run into and the different crime families and all the other complicated stuff. Like you just need a little bit of time to acclimate. It's like we've just landed in this world, and a lot has to be explained before we can jump into what's happening today. So I thought it was appropriate, but yeah, some people were already kind of saying the whole series is going to be a mess and whatever, and we won't even get into that.
Yeah. And people were waiting. I don't want to turn this into just like hating on people who hate it, but and I could do that. But people were expecting just like just him flying out of the Sarlacc pit and just like his flamethrower going all over the place and shooting and chasey chases and all that, all kind of goofy stuff going on. And people need to realize, at least the fans that are upset with it need to realize there's a story that's happening here.
Yes.
There's a rebirth that is happening here with Boba Fett. There's a lot of that pesky character development stuff that gets in the way of just mindless, space Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, Batman, action that they're looking for. From Boba Fett, from what they've worked up in their minds over the decades. So people need to chill and give it a chance. And plus, it's just chapter 1. You got it's world building. You gotta give it a second to set the tone. For the remainder of this series.
But totally with you.
I like the word that you used, rebirth, of the character. We were texting earlier this week about how I thought it was really cool that Boba Fett does not come out directly of the mouth of the Sarlacc pit, that he sort of like fights his way through the side of it and digs out through the soil. Because to me, it almost looked like he was kind of digging his own way out of his own grave, which in some ways he kind of was. Like he looks around him in the Sarlacc pit, and there's a stormtrooper, and that it doesn't end well typically when you're in the belly of the Sarlacc pit. But he finds his way out and digs his way out, and that leads to another thing that people were critical of, is he's seemingly weak when he gets out of the Sarlacc pit, and it's like, look, he's been through a lot.
I would say, he's been through. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
If he would have just flown out of there, it would have made the Sarlacc pit look like a joke. Like, why couldn't anybody else survive? All I need is a jetpack to get out. Like, it needed to make the Sarlacc pit look like a big
Yeah.
daunting task.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
Boba Fett survived it, yes, but it was a challenge to
Yeah,
survive
It's
it.
not easy to get out.
Yeah, it's not like that Star Wars Robot Chicken thing where he comes just jetpacking out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back from the dead, a-holes. Like it's not going to be that.
Well, let's also remember, maybe he could have just flown out of there. But how did he get into there? Remember the Return of the Jedi? He got his jetpack hit, it malfunctioned, and he tumbled into there. I don't think his jetpack was working, is honestly what
Probably
I think.
not, yeah.
So he had to crawl his way out of there.
Yeah.
There was no other way.
And he was so weak from whatever noxious fumes are in there.
It's being digested.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, the acid and all that kind of stuff. Because once like his the armor was taken off, he was in terrible shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude looked beat up.
Yep.
He just immediately passed out. From the whole ordeal because he was tired. Because I have gone through a moment where I had so much I had a blister on my hand and I was getting it taken off.
You're comparing.
No. I'm not going to compare but what I'm going to say, my pain was real, man.
I too have suffered. Let me tell you about the blister I had.
Hey, it was big. It was like 3rd-degree burn almost.
Oh my gosh. I take it all back.
Take it all back. Yeah. Come on, meanie. No. We're a clean family show. We have to say words like meanie.
That was us going off the rails.
Seriously, we're back. So in getting it off, I'd gone through so much pain in the ordeal that afterwards I just fell asleep. I was so tired. So I can't imagine.
You just let the Tusken Raiders beat you with gaffy sticks.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, doctor, just slap me over the head.
I don't care.
Take
want to live anymore.
My point being, I would have just passed out of exhaustion too. Yeah. Anyway,
listen, I just had a wisdom tooth extracted.
See,
I don't know what's worse. Probably, I'm pretty sure I'd rather go through the wisdom tooth again than it'll be crawling out of a probably 100 feet down of a of a Sarlacc or more. However many feet.
Who knows how far he had to dig up?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are diagrams out there.
There are, yeah,
but
that's true.
Like someone already made a diagram, and this is jumping to chapter 2 real quick, but someone already made a diagram of the
lizard thing.
Yes,
I just saw that.
Where was that?
I was going to send it to you guys.
I was like,
who worked on that? Who tapped into the Speed Force from the Flash and drew that quickly? The show just came out.
Just yesterday.
It's Thursday.
Yeah. And it came out yesterday. I was proud of myself for having watched it 3 times in one day. I'm like, I've never done that.
I'm impressed. But yeah, I think somebody just called out of work yesterday to make that or something because they jumped on it right away.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely true. No, the one thing to finish up on the Sarlacc pit I did want to say was just again tipping my hat to Rodriguez on this one. I think they did a great job making it feel really claustrophobic in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that it was shot, it felt like you just had this sliver of the camera that was, that Boba Fett was in, and the rest of it was the stomach. I felt claustrophobic, like I couldn't breathe. Yeah. And so that was just good cinematography right there to give the audience the feel of I'm trapped in this Sarlacc pit myself. Yeah. And how am I going to get out of it? So the whole sequence to me was great. It was 40 years paid off for some people. It was, maybe not enough for others, but to me, I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was well done. And then one other thing I liked about within the Sarlacc pit was the fact that the stormtrooper was upright. Like he was he was up on his feet trying to figure out how to get out of there, and eventually was just digested and succumbed to the Sarlacc pit. But
so he's not wearing Beskar too.
He's not wearing Beskar, so that doesn't help. But so where do we go from there? So he gets out of the Sarlacc pit. He doesn't get far. Yeah, he doesn't get far before he gets himself into trouble.
Doesn't get much easier for him. The poor guy gets enslaved, and even before that, he gets his armor stolen.
Listen, let me say, one of the great things about these Disney Plus series is that they are able to, with a microscope, just go in and flesh out a lot of things that were so minor in the trilogies. Like take the Jawas. They were just they were scavengers and doing their thing, all that kind of stuff. Now we see that there are a bunch. They're jerks.
Yeah.
They're jerks. Every last one of them.
Like they're picking him clean while he's still moving.
Yeah, like, oh, he's alive still. Yeah, get his stuff. Get his stuff.
Yep.
Well, I also want to point out how genius it is of that storytelling. Like, as soon as the barge explodes, the next thing I would expect is Jawas to show up.
Yes.
To scavenge it, to find anything of value. And what do they find of value? Beskar, and a man who's near death who they can easily take it from. So I don't know if they had planned that in Mandalorian season 2 or even before that when they teased him in season 1, but the fact that they nailed like the events that would happen following the barge, the Jawa showing up, was really brilliant. I think of Favreau, of Rodriguez, all of them, Filoni.
It's super consistent, and I don't think it would even have to be Beskar. It could be like Boba Fett at a Casio watch, and they would take it. Like that's just what they do.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
What are you saying about Casio watches?
I think they're great.
Okay,
but then he's captured by the Tusken Raiders, who are really having a moment in this show. Who are really just kind of, you're learning a ton about them, and it starts with the perspective of them not being so kind to Boba Fett. And the poor Rodian,
which is kind of to character with what we've seen in the past. And I was thinking of Attack of the Clones the whole time, and Shmi, like this is what they did to her, and this is what they do to everyone they pick up. I'm curious your guys' thoughts of like what does this experience teach him, because he's getting kicked around by little kids, and it's not really a good moment in his life. Like he's probably like, I wish I was in that Sarlacc pit still. Like maybe there's a better way to go than this. What is he going through? What does this experience like teach him? I've got some thoughts, but that's what question I had for you guys.
I'll jump in real quick and say, like, even before that, I think the flashbacks and like the dreams he's having when he's in the back to tank, and it seems like they're flashbacks, but they could be mixed in with dreams at some point. I think those are kind of telling, and I think they're almost like indicative of like a little bit of trauma or something. And there's almost it's almost ironic that a lot of his flashbacks are to Camino, this world of, it's a giant ocean planet. And now here he is getting sunburned on this desert planet where he probably never thought he'd end up in this particular situation. So, it's a sad state that we find our bounty hunter in.
It is a sad state that we're finding him in. I totally agree. And I thought it was a very humbling experience that he was in, right? He's lost his armor. He's nothing. He kind of probably feels like he's nothing without his armor. Like most of his abilities and skills come from what he can do with his armor.
These are he's basically in like his underwear. This is like what he wears under his armor. That's all he has left. But
right.
I feel like he sort of like the way he carries himself, like we've got it up on the screen now. And so, yes, he's a prisoner. He's fully enslaved, but his shoulders are back and his chin is up, and he still has some dignity to him that hasn't been taken away by the fact that he's in this really crappy situation.
Well, even later on he says no hard feelings. Like we'll get to the, we're jumping way ahead here, but the monster that he has to fight, like as soon as he fought that monster, the first thing he could have done was killed the kid. Yeah. The Tusken kid. He didn't.
And by the way, I think that's what's going to make him a really good crime boss is he's not impulsive and he doesn't react emotionally. It's not like, oh man, you kicked me when I was down, so now it's your turn. He doesn't do any of that.
He's going to rule with respect. We've already heard him say it. And that's I think he's learning it in this moment, because while he was sitting there enslaved, being kicked around by these kids, he looks up at the leader of the tribe who's just looking at him. And he's almost as if he's waiting to see what he's going to do. And so I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, this is a really I keep getting that word wrong. This is a really humbling experience for Boba Fett here. But I don't really think that the Tusken Raiders are trying to be mean to him. I think what they're doing is they have learned to survive in these really harsh conditions. And they're doing a bad thing in enslaving people and taking them in and making them do work for them because of the conditions that they're in. That's part of what they've learned to do to survive. But they also know that only the strong survive in this case.
Mm-hmm. It's a really harsh environment. They don't have any. They are adapted to the world that they're in.
And not just that, but they're kind of testing Boba Fett in a way to see, like, are you strong enough to survive?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are, you'll earn our respect and be part of this group instead of enslaved by us.
Yep.
So, because you notice it when he escapes, right? He escapes for a second from bondage. He starts running away, and then he has to fight the Tusken warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And he loses, but like they're letting that happen. They're not trying to kill him. They're trying to see how can he hold his own. Like, can he actually? Is he strong enough to survive as part of this group?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more of a test than it is an enslavement. Really.
Yeah.
So
I think there's something fair about that. I think, it could be anybody. If it was the Rhodian who showed up the way that Boba Fett did, I think they would have accepted him. But I wanted to ask both you guys your opinion on this question here. Boba Fett, hero, anti-hero, something totally different. He's
struggling.
He's a crime boss. He's an aspiring big time crime boss, who was a bounty hunter. So he sort of lived in kind of a gray area. He has some kind of code. He tries to respect people, but he's the protagonist. But is he a hero? I don't know.
I go by what his father said and what he said when he came into the Mandalorian. He's just a simple man trying to make his way in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And any way he knows how, and he was raised a particular way. So he was in that life, and now with like so coming out of that Sarlacc pit, and dealing with the Tusken Raiders, or at least this particular tribe of Tusken Raiders,
right?
He's got a whole new perspective on things, and this has been like a rebirth for him, and now he's realizing a different way.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead to the second episode yet, because that starts to shape things of I think why he's decided to take over, from Jabba. But
yeah.
Is he just being opportunistic? Does he see like, well, Jabba's gone, there's kind of a power vacuum here, like somebody's going to step in, why not me? Or do you think he's been plotting and scheming for a long time?
I don't know about that. I don't know if he's like, if there's anything sinister, because to me he's not evil. Like, I know, like in video games and whatnot, like there's the villain side, then there's a hero side, and they always put Fett on the villain side because of what he did to Han Solo. Like, like Han Solo's innocent of anything.
Right.
But
rebel scum.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're terrorists.
They really are, right? There's no heroes. There's heroes on every side. Evil.
It's all relative.
Yeah. It all.
But I think I would categorize him right now a bit of the anti-hero. I think it's really difficult in this. In Star Wars in general is really good at like towing the moral line. It's like you can't use morality in our universe to define morality in their universe, because especially on a place like Tatooine, where the conditions are so harsh, and you don't know. It's really just about survival, right? You don't have time sometimes to even stop and be like, is this moral or not? Is this okay or not? It's like, how do I just make sure I make it to tomorrow?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where Boba Fett is, but he's going to try to do it as best as he can. He thinks he can do it, instead of leading by fear, leading with respect. And there's something admirable about that.
Yeah. And I think probably what happened in the events of War of the Bounty Hunters maybe helped shape him a bit. And once again, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead to the second episode, but we know that they are taking a look at the comics, for different story beats and all that kind of stuff.
They are. We will get to that specifically, because we'll have to put another spoiler warning out there when we get to that. I am so excited for that one, especially for your reaction, Chris.
Oh boy.
All right, let's keep moving in episode 1 so we can get there. Boba wakes up. We see him get dressed a little bit. I did have one little reaction to, he wakes up, he said, I'm having those dreams again. And Fennec's basically like, I don't care.
Yeah.
right? Like doesn't react to it at all.
All
Like,
business.
all business. I'm trying to kind of get a feel through this episode and through even the second one. Where's Fennec's mind here? Which I do hope that they give more attention to her as time goes on. They can't during the flashbacks, I get, but like we need to see how she feels about kind of the rift that started between the two of them.
Yeah, it's definitely there. And
Uh-huh.
like she side eyes him so many times, like in the first episode alone. To the point where like I'm like, you know, I'm always turned out to be like the Johnny Negative guy when I say things like this, but because I was like, maybe Omega's going to die near the end of Bad Batch, or they're all going to turn from Order 66, and and it's all going to get bad, you know, and then I'm labeled, you know, super negative. But I think because there was a line that she said, and I think it was in the first episode where she was like, I can make the rounds without you.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I'm like, you know, that gets me thinking that, you know, she's about to go into business for herself. She may betray him because, you know, she's like, you know, even in times like this, the sure bet is to you know, use that, you know, the fear tactics and be a little harsher, you know, things like that. And he doesn't want to go that route. And I think that this is gonna backfire on him in a way, you know, where she betrays him, she leaves or something, and maybe takes power.
I can totally see that, and I think like any crime show that you watch, like whoever the boss is, there's somebody who thinks that they can do it better because they would do it a different way. I think she might become that person, but I don't know. Like maybe she'll surprise us and stay loyal. I don't. It's tough to tell with these types of characters because their code is their own and it's not as obvious, and they are opportunists. So if she sees a chance to, you know, take that throne for herself, she might. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I will throw that. I think Kevin Scott's rubbing off on you a little bit, though, Chris. Just kidding. But I do think that she will not forget very quickly the life debt that she has to him for saving her life to begin with. You know, so there is that fact. But as time does go on, and as she serves him, she's going to wonder, did I pay that back?
Right. When she saves his life for the 15th time, she might be like, okay, we're good.
Exactly.
We're even now.
Yeah. And if that's the case, if they're still disagreeing with each other, could it become an issue? I'll take it if that's what they're setting up for. I'll also take it if they set it up for they come to some sort of resolution.
Yeah.
Like if she sees that Boba Fett's ways are working, she might get on board. It's more of a question of will they work or not?
Right.
And I have faith that they will, but you can tell it's off to a rocky start. I mean, let's get to the tribute scene. Like that was the first place I was like, okay, so you've got the two of them and the return of 8D8, which was cool to see.
Listen, that one real quick. All right, so the actor who does the voice for 8D8, and I think it goes by a different name, like UNC something. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, for that droid is voiced by one of my favorite comedic actors of all time. His name is Matt Berry. Have you ever seen the IT Crowd or I think it's called Things We Do in the Dark? Is that the name of it?
I watched the IT Crowd, I think, based on your recommendation, Chris, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
I'd recommend it to anybody. It's awesome.
It's amazing. So yeah, he's on that. So he does the voice for that guy. He's got a very distinct voice, and like I picked it up immediately. Like, oh, that's definitely Matt.
I didn't make that connection. I can totally hear it now. Yeah. Oh, he's so good.
And so yeah, that was I was geeking like crazy just from that alone.
Yeah, that was terrific.
I was just geeking because I was like, I know that guy, you know, the droid in general.
Right.
Like, he's the one that's torturing the gonk.
Yes. And he's got dialogue now. Like that's what I just that's the one thing about these live action shows so far. A lot of it is like these guys are getting to play with all the action figures. That's
you know,
exactly that's what this is. That's what this is.
Jan, I remember when you got me to download the Star Wars trading card app. One of the first things I loved about it was how much they went and found like the obscure characters in the background, and they do it for 8D8. They've got a card or a few cards of him, and so I knew who he was from a lot of that kind of stuff. And to be able to be like, wow, that's basically what Filoni and Favreau did. They just were like, who's one of those background guys that we just pull back in here? And think about the situation that again they're running on. They're running a little too efficiently in this new crime syndicate that he's trying to set up. Boba Fett is 3 guys, or 2 people in a droid isn't going to be enough. And they say right at the beginning, like, we're going to need to get a protocol droid. This isn't working.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool scene because you did have those kind of thoughts. But yeah, then you get some visits from a few of the other people in town. The Trandoshan was cool. The whole why does it always sound like I'm being threatened when I'm being given a compliment by a Trandoshan?
Dan loved that scene.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I did too. Even with the Major Domo coming in.
Yeah, he's so good. Oh, so slimy.
So he's just, something's weird about him. What are your take on him? Is he slimy? Or to me, I thought he was
condescending.
Condescending, definitely.
Yep.
I thought it was more like a politician, a career politician who is just doing everything he can to try and make everybody happy and not rock the boat too much. Like, he's like, sorry, I'm not the mayor, but like, I'm here to give you his welcome. Like, and he knows they're not going to receive it well.
Yeah, that was a shot across the bow. I think he is he's an entourage guy. He's not the guy, but he's like in the orbit of the guy, following him around, doing his bidding, and out there being snarky because he knows he's got the mayor backing him up. But I think it's I'm jumping ahead to the second episode. He's also one of those guys where as soon as you try to push past him to go through the door, he doesn't have an answer for that. No. He tries to talk you out of it. So if you're going to muscle your way through it, he's got nothing.
And then he just went right into sorry for the intrusion, sir. Like that's just like, he just switched it real quick.
So. Yeah. I think part of it is the mayor is telling him to do stuff, and he knows that the mayor even doesn't have enough power to pull that off. And so he's kind of put in the uncomfortable situation the mayor is putting him in. And he knows that he's going to have to go back to the mayor and tell him like, hey, it didn't work, and make the mayor upset. So he's just in a bad situation all around, poor guy.
Yeah. It's do something, but be discreet. Don't have it be traced back to me, but also kind of let them know it's me, so they know that I mean business. Like it's delicate. And again, jumping ahead to the second episode, I think one of the first bits of advice that the mayor gives to Boba is that it's all pretty complicated.
It's different what does he say? He's like, it's different to lead a family than it is to bounty hunt.
Something
along those lines. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good lesson. We'll get to that. All right. Let's get to Mos Espa for a second here, because the dialogue this is where we start seeing some of that rift between Fennec Shand and Boba Fett. Was the dialogue between them. It's like, it might be easy to rule with fear. It's a pretty effective tool,
Yeah.
I love the meme that I saw on the Waterboy meme. If you saw that on Twitter,
I didn't.
The Waterboy's girlfriend, and that, like, how every time that somebody's in his way, she's like, "Do you want me to kill him?" I saw a meme of that with Fennec Shand's face on it instead. Just like, Boba Fett, you want me to kill him? Like, that's just what she keeps doing. No, not yet. No. But you see a little bit of that disagreement there, and maybe some of that jealousy, like your helmet's shinier and stuff like that. It's interesting, just the dynamic they're setting up between the two of them. But I don't know, what do you guys think of the Mos Espa scene? Because then that's when we get some of our not first action, but our main action scene of the series.
I loved it, and I was curious as to, like, when the Major Domo said before he left, like, very the kindest threat ever. He's like, you can expect a second delegation at some point. And I was like, well, all right, here they are. Here's that second delegation.
Yeah.
You know, or we don't know because you know, jumping ahead, you know, Mok Mokshaiz, is that his name?
Mokshai's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
He was like, I didn't send him. You may want to talk to, you know, Garza Whip or blah 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 blah. So
Yep.
we don't know who sent him, and it's probably the mayor that sent him.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you know, but yeah. You know, I like that slight threat that he gave.
Yep. And I really like that the Gamorreans like this episode is like the rise of the Gamorreans. Like they've redeemed themselves in a way.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how Boba Fett could have had the two Gamorreans that were loyal to you know, the prior guys. He could have had them executed, but he gave them the opportunities to follow Boba Fett and be loyal to Boba, and they step up and they save the day in that battle. They come swinging out of nowhere, and they could have blown that off and said like, all right, this is the new boss, different than the old boss, and but they're also the ones that carry him back into the back to tank and stick the oxygen thing into his mouth and close the lid and genuinely take care of him. So that's a nice contrast to Fennec, who's sort of like a little bit skeptical about Boba and a little bit skeptical about his methods and outwardly disagrees. And then you've got the Gamorreans who are just like, we're fully bought in. And I think we're going to see more of both. I think we're going to see more who are aligned and are sort of like, it's in my best interests until it's not. And then, you know, maybe I'll stab him in the back. And then, you know, he might have some more people who like really have his back, like the Gamorreans. I don't know.
I do think though. So a couple things on that. One, I think the Gamorreans maybe were tempted to leave at that moment, because if you noticed, you know, the Night Wind crew show up to fight him, and the Gamorreans didn't attack right away. It wasn't like they were involved in it. It was like Boba Fett and Fennec Shand were on their own for a good 30 seconds, minute of that action, and then the Gamorreans showed up.
That's a fair point. I just assumed that they weren't right there. Like they came running from wherever they were. Like they were at the arcade or something playing skee-ball.
Yeah, or maybe they're you know, dealing with a couple of other you know, Nightwind assassins on their own. I don't know.
Right.
They were at Ishkabibbles 3 on it's their Outer Rim location.
There you go. Whatever it is, maybe I thought it'll be a whole spin-off series of that. But I just thought that was cool that, like, you're right, like they proved their loyalty. The other thing is with Fennec Shand, like I do think she's a bit of a foil right now. I feel like she's playing the audience a little bit. Like we're wondering if Boba Fett knows what he's doing, if his plan is going to work. And she's playing our role in that. So maybe they're setting something up, or maybe they're just saying, you know what, we're going to show you that there's somebody in his entourage that's thinking the same thing you're thinking right now, audience. Is this going to work for Boba Fett? Right now, it's not looking great.
He's in over his head, and you know, jumping ahead again, we could definitely see that in chapter 2.
Maybe we just need to get there. Before we do, we got one more sequence of this episode to get to, and that's back to the Dream series. Going back in time, seeing him, you know, enslaved. He's dragged to find water. We're watching the sequence right now. Actually, I wanted your guys' reaction to the Moisture Farm settlement scene. It was a very like passing by scene, like just let's observe these jerks. The biker gang come in, steal some water, kick the guy down, and run off. Like, what was that all about?
Was that the Tashi station?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Know.
But those guys are jerks. They're Nikto.
Yeah.
And some Nikto biker gang. And I mean, like, they are literally at a Terminator 2 biker gang, like that that the T-800 beats up. But because everyone's wondering about that symbol, because I was trying to figure out, like, oh man, what is that from? Who are these guys with? I'm thinking, like, did I see that in a comic or something like that? But
any luck?
We don't know.
Do you find anything?
No, No,
I'm
I don't
not
think
either.
anyone. I don't think anyone knows.
I
like,
don't
what
think
it
so
is.
either.
It's setting something up.
Yeah.
Is what I
Yeah.
think. I think mostly it was trying to set up the thing that ends up happening in episode 2, but it could be setting up for more than that.
Mhm.
I guess one of the thoughts of like what I thought it meant for Boba was, and it was just another because he actually turns away. He doesn't. There's a point where when the biker gang kicks the guy, he looks away like he's disgusted by it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really think like he's a bounty hunter. He's done some pretty, mean stuff in life. He's killed some guys.
He's not evil.
He's not
You know?
evil, but
This is his job.
it's just his job. But
Yeah.
he's looking at this like, guys, that's taking it too far.
Yeah.
So I think he's just growing this disdain for them.
I think you're right. I think I think that's a good point. I don't think I picked up on that as much when I watched it, but when faced with like real crappy evil behavior, it's clear that it's not for him.
Yeah.
He's okay with some bad stuff happening if it's for a specific end, if it's to help him solidify his power or something like that, to help him catch a bounty, whatever.
But not preying on the weak.
Not preying on the weak
No.
and not
Yeah.
senseless violence and not any of that stuff. So that's a good call out, Ben.
Yeah. Oh, just little things that I noticed this time. But the big part of this whole scene though was the big monster fight.
Yep.
And good riddance, Rodian.
Ouch. Wow.
Sorry. I had no
We hardly knew
sympathy.
ye.
Ben hates Rodians. There
Yep.
it is.
Put it on a
Let's do that.
t-shirt.
Hashtag
Dan hates Trandoshans and Ben,
Ben hates
Rodians.
Rodians.
Yep.
I mean, that was one of the first reactions I had was, gosh, poor Rodians, they can't last more than a few minutes of screen time.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's it. Then they're gone. But he deserved it. Like he totally called him out when Boba Fett got free the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
he's a coward. Like
Yeah,
he's sitting here gloating like, I found water. Like he thinks that's gonna save him.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, what is that called?
Gloating or
No. Like he's in
brown
prison.
nosing.
The Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
He's
what
in
Yeah.
it
Stockholm.
is.
I'm like brown nosing.
Yeah. Well, that too. That too.
Yeah, a little bit of that. a
Yeah.
little bit of that.
Apparently, Stockholm syndrome is very in this time of year on Tatooine.
Yes.
And it's just a normal way of life for Rhodians.
Yeah.
But
What were
all
you
of
gonna
that
say?
ends really well for Boba, our protagonist, hero, anti-hero, whatever. Because that's the moment where he solidifies his place in this particular tribe of Tusken Raiders as a friend and not a foe. It's a big deal.
He proves his strength.
Yep.
Right? He passed the trial. And when they see what he was capable of and hear the kid come back and tell the tale, and they're
Mhm.
like, he did that?
No,
We needed him.
that kid took all the credit.
He did.
Yep.
That he was like, yeah, this is what I did.
Isn't it great that that's not subtitled, but we all kind of got all the different layers of all the nonsense that was going
Yeah,
on when he came back and
totally.
told the story, carrying the head, like
Body
victoriously carrying the head over his head.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Body
bet you
language said
the
it
Tusken Raiders are fantastic at charades.
Probably.
all. I don't ever want to challenge them. That's for sure.
But who are we going up against? Oh, forget it.
Tuscans, we
He's like,
lost.
oh man, yeah, it's over. Give them the trophy.
Let's not go to game night at the watering hole tonight. We'll go to the Tachi station next week.
Yeah.
When they're playing Pictionary. All right. Are we good with episode 1, guys? Is
I
anything
think we're
else
good
we
with
missed?
episode 1.
Chris,
Well,
you really like it.
yeah, but like the one thing is the final shot of this episode. I love when the elder comes up to him, and like it's not full respect. He doesn't even look him in the eye.
He doesn't face him.
Doesn't face him at all. He just nonchalantly gives him
You earned this.
the black melon,
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay, yeah. He's like, yeah, you got respect, but you still got a long way to go.
Yep.
Yes. That was how I interpreted that. Was like, you've got our respect now. You are no longer enslaved,
Yeah.
but you are not yet part of this tribe. There is more work to do if
Mhm.
you really want to reach that. But we're not going to tie you up again.
Right.
And the other thing I think was he knew coming back.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
out of his bonds. He
Mhm.
could have killed that kid, and he
Yeah.
didn't.
And he didn't.
Yep.
He could have just ran away. The kid came back on his own, and he was gone. And he came back. So he's the leader of this tribe is seeing this. He knows what he could have done. and what he chose to do instead. And he's like, okay, you obviously want to stay here. You're not part of the tribe yet, but we'll let you stay. We'll kind of feel you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
And the trials will continue.
And the trials will continue, as we see in episode 2.
Nice segue.
You're just teeing them up like so well for me tonight, Jan. All right, where do we start with this one? So, I mean, we start with the Nightwind and the mayor scene again. The Nightwind comes in. I was curious your guys' thought. So we see Fennec Shand show up with the Nightwind. They're interrogating him. He's not speaking at all. They drop him into the Rancor pit to spook him. Did you guys think that the Rancor was going to show up or not?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No. Now I figured they were bluffing. The moment that they were like threatening the Rancor, I'm like, oh, did they get another Rancor? Like, did they get another Rancor? Is it that Rancor from Bad Batch?
That's what I thought.
That's
like, if
right.
there is
Moochie.
one, it's from Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Moochie.
Moochie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Batista's not there. The potato bear's gone.
The potato bear's gone, but
lovely callback.
There you go.
Love
Got
it.
our inside jokes.
I love all the different shots that they use in this. Like, I love when they throw the guy down to the Rancor pit, where you can see Jabba's platform where he sat moving over the grate. I love seeing the trap door at the front of the castle we just saw moving up and down. Like, they just did such a nice job of like all the different little visual things that make it Jabba's palace, just really kind of spotlighting them super nicely.
Yeah, totally agree with that. It was a nice callback. If anything, it was just nice to see some fun Return to the Jedi moments and callbacks again, right? But I was the same with you, Chris. I was like, there's no Rancor in that pit. This is going to end up to be more of a funny scene.
Yeah,
and it was.
And it made him talk.
So Rancors will get you to talk. Something about death by Rancor is worse than just death by knife, I guess.
Yeah, and if you look at the scene closely, he leans into the knife when they threaten to cut his head off.
Yes.
He's like, okay, go ahead.
No fear of the knife.
Nope.
Rancor is a different story.
Whole different
I like
story.
how Fennec Shand's just like Nightwinds. You're paying for the name. Like, she has no respect for them.
Yes.
None.
I'm better than these guys. That was really cool. But then we get the mayor scene. And you already kind of shared a little bit about that, Jan. But what did you guys think of, I guess, the mayor? Was he threatening? Was he did he have any power? What was your interpretation of just the mayor? Because I kind of got to feel like I'm not too threatened by him. Like, there's something there, but I don't feel very like, I don't feel like his power is really, really big. Like, he's talking a lot of talk right now.
I think that's fair, but I think also part of the game is it's all subtext to a certain degree. Like, he can't just come out and say, look, as the mayor of this town, I am planning to kill you. Like it's all got to be sort of like folded in and kind of in between what he's saying. So I think he's sort of playing that game a little bit. And I think he comes out and says, like I mentioned, this is pretty complex stuff. And I think Boba's getting a taste of, hey, if he wants to consolidate power on this planet, it's not all going to be, direct deal making. Some of it's going to have to be kind of under the surface a little bit and a little bit political, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't get to any kind of level of power, especially on Tatooine and Mos Eisley or Mos Espa, without some ruthlessness there. So I think that Mok Shaiz is
good point.
It's definitely feigning a lot of whatever ruthlessness or viciousness that he may have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he kills
they play the game.
Guy.
Yeah.
He kills the guy in cold blood right there.
Yes. Like, those guys knew exactly what to do. He was like, he waved his hand, done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. That was not the first time they had to execute somebody right in front of the mayor. Like, this is probably something that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I do think, though, again, this is where the power struggle comes in. So I agree with you. Like, he's got more power than I'm letting on, but he didn't before. Under Jabba, at least, he didn't. Like, he had a lot more power. He could definitely, what's the word, usurp him.
Jabba propped him up, the mayor, you mean?
Jabba propped him up, yes.
Yeah.
But things have changed in the last few years where under Bib Fortuna, it probably got so lax. He had very little power. He started to gain some of that power back, and now he's seeing Boba Fett come into the picture, and he's feeling a bit threatened by him. So it is going to be this power struggle between the two of them. Especially because Mokshai sees a chance. He sees a chance to be what a mayor should be, the one in power, the one at the top, and he hasn't been that for a while.
And I wonder about Bib Fortuna, like how much power did he have, staying in Jabba's palace and like taking over for him, because there was apparently no real security there. And when you go into like that throne room and he's sitting on like the throne on top of Jabba's dais, is that the place is practically empty.
I think he ran it into the ground.
And,
I agree
and Mokshai's and Jennifer Beals character.
You having a moment there?
Yeah, I'm okay.
You okay?
I'm okay.
Okay, all right.
But they all like. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask you what's going on with her character though? Like,
totally more to her than meets the eye. Totally,
there's something more.
Those like Mokshai's and I think it's Garza Fwip. They are doing. They are playing the game. They've been at it so long. They're playing the game, and they're so smooth at it. They're so smooth at it. And like I said, Boba is in over his head, and pretty much he's a rhino in a glass house or something like that, and just disrupting everything. So yeah, I think they're I think that Garza is just as much of a threat as Mokshai's is, but not as much as the twins.
This is your moment, Chris. You take the honors. Walk us through the surprises in the streets of Mos Espa.
All right. So from the drum I'm sorry. Garza Flip was on the screen and sorry, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Were you going to start with the R2 unit that's playing the drums?
Oh, well, he's fantastic. And
fantastic.
And Max Rebo, I'm so glad that he survived and he made it to the gig, man. I'm so glad he made it to the gig.
A lot of people were really happy to see Max Rebo, but I was also really pumped to see the little astromech droid playing the drums.
I mean, cool. And that's the thing. They're just like again with Mando, they're taking astromechs and giving them so much more to do.
Yes.
They're playing drums. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense.
They can be forever.
They can be a ferryman on a lava river. They can play the drums for Max Rebo. They
with
can do
arms
it all.
And legs.
Yes,
it's fantastic.
I love it.
They can be programmed to do so much.
But my interest absolutely peaked after the whole Jennifer Beals thing. My interest absolutely peaked. When like that drum started to kick in, and there's such a just right there, there's such a Japanese vibe, like already, like just with that. And then as the camera is in the direction where the drum beat is coming from, and I'm like, who is this? What is this? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, are these huts? Are these huts?
Yes.
What are they going to look like? Did they knock it out of the park? And they absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yes.
With these two huts, and it's so very, it just looks so very Japanese. It felt very Japanese. Just the way they looked. Just got the fan and
fanning themselves.
And it's a mishmash of a couple different cultures there. With what they're doing with the huts there, with the litter they call them.
The litter.
And you can see you see it buckling a little bit in the middle because that's a whole lot of concentrated weight. But the
guys carrying them, you can see them straining.
They're like, please.
And it's funny. There's a few thoughts I had. Well, first of all, it was great to see huts again.
Yeah.
One thought though was, I always had this assumption that, or I feel like we've heard the huts fell out of power. And I kept going, really? Because their network was extensive. Jabba falling out of power, one thing.
No, Jabba consolidated all that power because in War of the Bounty Hunters, Vader, killed off a whole bunch of the heads of the Hutt cartel.
And when I read that, I thought, oh, this is explaining why how the Hutts lost so much power. And it made more sense when War of the Bounty Hunters dropped. And then this happened. Like, oh, they're not gone yet.
Yeah.
This is not going to be like, right away in the sunset.
Right. And they've been lying in wait. And I think that's why they waited until now to come back. Like maybe they finally worked up enough power, because I'm pretty sure there was some kind of power struggle on Nahoda as far as
they reference that.
Yeah. So they're finally starting to get their the laser point thing, and I'm a vision as far as let's get Jabba's power on, let's get that hold on Tatooine, and here comes this bounty hunter, taking power. They're like, this is dumb. Let's take care of this. And the fact that they brought some muscle with them,
some big muscle.
And I listen. I watch these when it drops. All right, I watch them at 3 a.m. when they drop. I can't wait. And plus I sleep like a vampire anyway. But so at the very first shot, over the I think the left shoulder of this armored, black-haired, immensely huge, angry Wookiee, I lost my mind. 3 a.m. I'm pretty sure I woke up my neighbors, but I don't care because they're loud anyway. But
you deserved it.
Yeah, they had it coming. But and I was like, oh my God, they did it. It's Black Chrysanthemum. I'm like,
yes.
And that just, this is why, and hot take or whatever, I prefer these series to the movies. For me, like the movies are great. The great overarching storylines that they're telling, but I like, when we get into it, like, the movies to me are afraid a bit to really bring in all these, minor characters or characters from the comics or characters from the books. Yep. And I think we're starting to get to a point with Star Wars live action where it's all starting to be even playing field, because this series so far, and I mean this in the best of ways, felt like I was reading a comic.
Yes.
And it just like, all the characters that they're putting in there and
just ending on cliffhangers.
Yeah. And it's just, all these minor characters and background characters who are now just major characters. To me, these characters are, just as important as your Han, Luke, and Leia. And they will be to generations going forward, because this will be someone's first Star Wars.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, when I saw Black Chrysanthemum come on screen, I was like, where's Chris? I want to see him reacting right now. That was the first thought that I had.
By the way, for some of our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with the comic books, maybe we can give them a little bit of backstory about who this Wookiee is. So where do we first see him? Is it in Dr. Aphra?
It's part of Dr. Aphra, but it's in the Kieran Gillen's run of Darth Vader. Because that's when Aphra is introduced, and then later we're introduced to Black Chrysanthemum, who was a bounty hunter, assassin, gladiator. And Dr. Aphra owes him some money, so
he's tagging along.
She's tagging along to make sure that she survives,
lives long enough to pay,
to get paid. Yeah,
yes.
What a dynamic! And this is why the comics are great.
I'm telling you, there's so many. I was reading some of Charles Soule's run. I'm sorry, his entire run for Star Wars, the flagship title of the comics.
Yeah,
there are a few issues in there where I'm like, this is better than the movies. If this were to be fleshed out, and I were to see it like not fleshed out, but if it were to transfer to live action or even animated, I'm like, this would be better than the movies that we've got so far.
Well, this is my question for you. Is I was trying to figure this out afterwards. It was like, I think this is the first character that was introduced in comics to make the crossover, the jump to live action. I'm saying specifically comics.
Yeah, because now Cobb Vanth. Yeah,
because Cobb Vanth, like, it was introduced in a book, but then came over. Yes. also you had, we'll talk about the Pikes later, but that they had been introduced in Solo, but still like that was coming from the animated, which is also good to see that when they take the animated and bring in live action like they would do with Ahsoka. But I think this was the first comic.
I think so.
And that was very exciting to see, especially because I know there was some that with Bad Batch earlier this year who felt some things with Kanan, you know, like not doing enough credit. Like this is doing credit to the character that was introduced in the comic. So that, and we just got 20 seconds of him. There is more to see with
there's going to be a lot more.
You can't put that much detail and work into that in that whole visage that they have of him. Be like, we just
made the reveal a big deal. You're right.
Something's going to happen with that.
Yeah. Hopefully he survives. I mean, don't kill him off. He will survive that.
I'm so excited to see where this goes. I don't know how many other cameos they're going to do or bring up any more characters, but I love that it's happened because it's bridging everything together.
Yes.
Every medium together needs to come together like that. Like, of course, with Cobb Vanth in season 2 of Mando, that needs to continue. They need to legitimize all, like, you know, as much as they can from the novels, and especially as much as they can from the comics.
To
just make it more well-rounded, so that when you do these movies, they don't seem so separate from everything else. Because as much as I love the sequel trilogy, you know, of course, I have my problems with what they did with Finn, but it felt so separate from everything else. Even though, it's you know 30 plus years in it, you know, past Return of the Jedi, but still, there were things that happened in Bloodlines and a couple of the other like novels that came out, you know, around the same time as Force Awakens that could have been massaged in there or something like that, and they didn't do it. But you know, there's you know, things are still working out, and they're getting their game plan together and whatnot, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, they're working out the kinks. They had a big task to just reintroduce the world of Star Wars, and now that it's thriving in everyone's mind, they're really having fun with the tapestry that's available to them. So all right, we could be here for hours. Let's let's move back to the dream sequence. So we get that whole setting up of the scene of the conflict that's going to be, you know, the main conflict moving forward in the current time, but then we have to go back in time and continue to tell the story of Boba Fett and what happened to him after the Sarlacc pit. And I thought this was really interesting what they were doing at the beginning of this. It's like they're doing 2 stories at once, first of all. Which is really, it was really interesting. I thought they were going to like keep jumping back and forth, but it's like, no, they're telling one, and then it was like a completely new episode started. Right? So that was interesting.
Love it.
What you see them, so Boba is now in the process of trying to earn the respect. Like that's the whole point of this next episode and what we're seeing in the dream sequence. And it starts out rocky. Like he's trying to learn how to fight the way that they do, and it's not going well. And I was curious your guys' thoughts on this, because I guess I always thought of him as a great fighter and someone who could beat anybody. And here it's not looking like that. Is that just because he doesn't have his armor?
You know, I mean, it's not like he's completely defenseless or anything like that.
Right.
You know, like he knows how to fight, but this is a new way to learn how to fight when you don't have your armor, and he's not as strong as he used to be. You know, thanks to what he dealt with. You know, in the Sarlacc pit. So, It's like I said. You know, it's a rebirth, and he's learning how to walk again. He's he's got his training wheels on one more time. He's got to learn how to ride that bike one more time.
Yep. And one of the things that's worth pointing out that we were discussing and texting about earlier this week, or yesterday, I guess it was, is that the person who's training him, the Tusken Raider who's training him, we think is the woman, is like the matriarch of this particular tribe, which I didn't catch at first until people started pointing out on Twitter or wherever it was I was on social media. But I thought that was kind of cool. Like that's kind of a cool twist. And we ended up looking her up, and she's a really accomplished stunt person who is now getting some acting time, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I thought I noticed it. I think at one point she does a little hair whip. Like first of all, she's got like the dreads, right?
Yes.
Those cloth dreads going on, which at first I guess I interpret as more of like dreadlocks or something. But but then like she did this little hair whip thing. I was like, wait, that was more. I don't know. That was when I first noticed like maybe this is the matriarch, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that it was a female from you could tell just like they're just more slender build. I was
Yes.
like, yeah, that's definitely a woman.
Yeah.
And then she proceeded to kick his
Kick
behind.
some stuff.
Yes,
Yep.
kick some stuff.
Oh, she was great. Yeah.
I immediately I was like, I need a Black Series figure of that
Yes.
character
Totally.
right now.
Totally.
And
But-
I think it was pretty fantastic for that character in particular, how much, without being able to speak, without seeing their face, how much
Mhm.
acting went
Mhm.
behind creating this character. Like, I'm bought into her
Oh,
story.
totally.
And if you do anything to hurt her, Filoni or Favreau, like it will hurt.
Well,
Yes.
Kevin Scott style.
I was gonna say keep
Right.
Kevin Scott away from her, and I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, totally. All right, so we get the struggle, we get the train scene, and this is where Boba sees his moment. He sees the struggle of the Tuskens and their lack of technology. He comes from the world of technology, and he's like, I can help here. This is how I earn their respect. He sees this as his opportunity, and he capitalizes on it. He goes and he fights those what's them called?
The Nikto biker gang.
The Nikto, thank you, biker gang gets the technology from them. He also, it's good to see him knock the crap out of some people that
Right.
we, don't really like.
Yeah.
But then he brings the technology to them, and he's like,
Hold
I'm
on,
going to
hold
help
on,
you with this.
Before you do that, do you guys know who those two characters are that the Niktos were beating up?
No.
And
The camera lingered on them for a little bit, and I was like, "Am I supposed to know who these are?"
If it's a deep dive, and if you've ever watched any of the deleted scenes from A New Hope, they're Luke's friends. Cammy and Victor.
Yeah. I was like,
Oh my
I knew I
gosh.
recognized them from somewhere, but I couldn't put
Yeah.
my finger on it.
That's so great. Wow.
Deep cut. This
But-
shows how
and-
much
They put a lot of love
Favreau
into
and
this,
them are fans.
Yeah.
for sure.
And now they're they're officially live action in the story, not deleted scene or anything like that. They're in it, and I think
That's so
fantastic.
great. By the way, this is for me. This is where this episode goes full Western. Like this, he becomes the gunslinger who goes into the
Gaffy stick slinger,
the saloon. The gaffy stick slinger goes into the saloon and cleans it up. Takes basically takes their horses and brings them back.
Yeah.
There's a train heist, basically.
Yep.
Like it goes full Western at this point, and it works really well in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
He even takes a drink from the bartender and slams it and walks
I was
out
waiting for him to
triumphantly.
say, like, sorry about the miss. I was waiting for him to say something like that. That'd have been funny.
It definitely felt like the Western. You're right. I kept thinking about that. The train heist is what made it feel the most like a Western to me.
Yeah.
And a little shades of Cobb Vanth and his moment with his little town and outpost getting overrun and trying to find a way to restore law and order. It's a little bit of that there.
That's why I think Boba let him hold on to that armor so he could do what he had to do for Moss. Oh, what was the name of his Moss Polgo?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
something like that.
Pelgo. Yeah,
Pelgo. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I love the subtitles here. So when Boba Fett's coming back with the, what are they called, the swoop bikes or something?
Yeah.
One of the Tusken Raiders, cups his hands around his mouth, and the subtitle just says "alerting" in Tusken.
Yeah. Speaking Tusken.
Speaking in Tusken.
I didn't notice
helpful,
that
I
until you
guess.
said that. If you're watching that, you're just like, okay, I'll just nod my head and say yes.
I think that's what he's doing.
Yep.
Checks out.
All right, so we get the technology here. All right, there is a great meme-worthy moment that we have to call out here. The like a bantha, right?
Like a bantha.
Yes.
Did you guys die
T-shirts
laughing when
coming
you saw
soon.
that?
Oh yeah.
That was one of the when I went on Twitter and was looking at some of the reactions, like people are trying to hold back the spoilers as much as possible, right? People couldn't hold that one back. They're like, I just have to say, like a bantha is my new favorite line ever. it hit. Like there was that little comedic beat that you needed amidst this whole chaos.
Yep.
Right. So I welcomed it. I do wonder if some people didn't like it. I welcomed it.
And by the way, like, later on in this episode, we get into the whole, conversation around the fire about how the Tusken Raiders time is kind of moved on for them and they don't have machines. And Boba says, well, you have machines now. There's a line in there that like really kind of like captured my imagination when one of the Tusken guys says, when the oceans dried up, we had to. And I'm like, when the oceans dried up, what do you mean?
That's more that Tatooine history that they're bringing in from the expanded universe.
Yeah, like that really caught my ear, and I was like, "That's really cool. I want to know more about that." And like the lore of the Tusken Raiders and how they adapted and all that stuff. Like, that is super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. Do we need to move on to the train heist scene?
Let's do it.
Well, yeah. I love the training. I loved how they made the. There's comedy scenes almost with Tusken Raiders. Who'd have thought?
Yes,
we'd ever have anything like that.
I know,
and they're so endearing. I was just amazed how much I just you get these characters and you start to see like they're treating them as their characters as there are the indigenous tribes,
right.
like they are like American Indians or in Tem's case they're like the Maori and indigenous people of New Zealand. I love that how they are bringing that in and making at least this tribe sympathetic. Some other Tuskens, they operate in with violence, and these Tuskens, they operate in a different manner.
And he says that later. He's like, we've been in hiding, but there are others that are more violent and that have survived by killing, and that's how he frames it. And so it kind of discerns between the ones that you see in A New Hope that were introduced to forever ago and these ones. But even so, the brilliance of Favreau and Filoni to look at this group and say, we can do more with them.
Yeah.
We can build them into not just background characters, but into like a tribe and kind of tell a story about who they really are.
Yeah.
And to me, it's working.
Yeah.
Like I haven't looked at this once and felt like they're stretching or felt like they're disobeying or doing something against New Hope. It's building on these characters in a way that makes me want to see more of them. So I love that they've taken the time to explore them more. Personally,
yeah, totally agree. And I think there's probably more to come. And I think it's kind of cool that it ultimately becomes part of Boba's identity. Like he carries that forward with him.
Yeah.
It's not just the weapon he takes with him, but all the stuff that he learned from them, and it becomes part of his DNA in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all this in some way, either I don't know if the flashbacks are all going to stay with the Tusken tribe. I'm pretty sure it's going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
But these are in Obi-Wan line, these are your first steps, and these are his first steps into getting to that that Fett that we see in the Mandalorian.
Yeah. I guess one of the big questions that I have is, where will this end? We know that he leaves the tribe. On what terms does he leave the tribe? What happens? Maybe it's not a term thing. Maybe it's something tragic happens. Maybe it's more of a, listen, I've had my time with you. I need to go and do some stuff now. There's unfinished business I have personally. I will not forget you. In fact, this isn't goodbye. This is see you later. When I become the crime lord, things will change for your benefit.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's what they're setting up personally.
And he already kind of strikes that first deal for them in this episode, where he changes the dynamic about what it means to cross the desert on Tatooine. And that was also kind of like a gray moment for me, where he was like, I'm getting ahead a little bit, but basically he was okay striking a deal to transport contraband stuff across the desert as long as the right people got paid for it.
Yeah.
It didn't matter so much that it was bad stuff that they're transporting. It's just it matters that you have greased the right palms, as they say.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
he's not like, mustache twirly evil or anything like that, but he's also not, white knight shining armor
Yeah,
good.
right.
He's right
Yeah.
there in the middle. He like you say, he's a simple man trying to make his way in the galaxy, and
Mhm.
and that's what he's doing here for them. And what I think is cool is when I first saw this scene where he's making, like, after the whole train thing, and he's making that deal with the Pikes, and when Din has that one episode in Tatooine with
Yeah.
Toro Calican, I was like,
Yes.
a lot of what happens in this second chapter of Book of Boba informed a lot of that scene. Like what Din, I think, knows of the Tuscans, and if you want to pass through their lands, you need to, give tribute, to give something.
Yeah.
That comes right from this.
Mhm.
That
Yep.
comes right from this episode, and I'm like, that's fantastic.
That's a great point.
I
That's a
thought
great
of that
point.
exact same thing. I'm glad you brought it up because I don't know where Din learned it. He
Yeah.
hadn't met Boba Fett yet.
No,
but obviously
but
word
he
is
knows
getting
the law
around.
of the land. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's starting because of this. So
Mhm.
yeah, Jan, you made a good point. He's kind of doing this he's this amoral character that is taking advantage of them doing this thing, but he's all doing in the sense of like, listen, this is their land. You do not pass through their ancestral land and have the right to, first of all, shoot at them and kill them and treat them like
Right.
they're indigenous and that because they're savage.
Yeah,
You've
treat them
assumed that
like
they're
savages.
savage.
Yeah.
Treat them like savages, right?
Yeah.
That you can just come in here and shoot them so that you can get your spice through. No,
Yeah.
you are going to respect them, and
Yeah.
you are going to, if you want to continue doing this, agree with you or not, you're going to pay up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the scene. That's what he strikes.
And I love that this is Tem delivering these lines, because this has to be a personal thing for him, being Maori. So I love that. I love that they have brought this aspect into Star Wars.
I love that they brought the Pikes too. Like, just they didn't do much to bring them into live action the first time that they were brought in, but in Solo. But they're basically saying, "Hey, Filoni, you'd introduced a really cool crime syndicate here. Let's bring them now into live action. Oh, and let's show you their face too.
Yeah.
Let's actually reveal them. That was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And
Nice
by the way, we
surprise.
just got a shot of the conductor, the train, or the engineer, or whatever you call him, that droid.
That droid.
That guy is a clown.
Oh, yeah,
The first chance he gets, he throws himself out the window and makes a run for it.
I loved that. Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to sabotage this train, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of droid that is, but I haven't seen one before that like acts in its own self-interest that way. It's pretty wild.
I thought that was pretty cool too. I mean, he works for a crime syndicate. He's probably okay. It's okay that he's acting in his own self-interest.
Yes. Oh, totally.
All right. Last segment of this episode is the initiation. So
gets a little wild.
It gets a little wild. The lizard is a little interesting. What were you gonna say, Chris?
Oh no, it's just like like we're gonna help you on your journey. I'm like, oh, how you gonna do that? Here, take this. Like, what? Now take this lizard in the nose. What?
Like, okay,
go
I
on your
will let it
vision
guide
quest.
me.
Yeah,
it was a total vision quest. Yeah, get swallowed up by the roots of some tree and bring us back a cool stick, and we'll show you what to do.
I just love that we see like a hallucination scene in Star Wars. Things are expanding, and I love it.
Yes, minds are expanding.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, and I think that first of all, I think the Tuscans are a little bit flabbergasted now by this guy, Boba Fett, that they brought in. They're sitting here saying everybody else that like are treating us like the Pikes. They come on our land and they think that they can do whatever they want here. They treat us with disrespect. They shoot at us. They kill us. You come in here and you embrace us. So they're very grateful, not just for what they've learned from him, but for the way that he's treated them. He's like, we will give you whatever we can. And they give him something which I saw someone say something like this on Twitter, and so I can't take full credit for this, but they end up giving Boba Fett something he's wanted his whole life. you think about him as a character. He doesn't have a family. Like, he's got a father, but it's not really his father. It's himself, just older.
Yep.
Right. It's he's gonna raise him, I guess. But even then, like, they showed the flashback scene of him flying off and going on another, escapade somewhere in the galaxy, leaving him behind on Tatooine. He's been alone. He doesn't have a family and identity.
Yeah. And Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian reminds him, "You're not a Mandalorian," and he says, "Never said I was.
You're just a clone."
Right. He's just he's a loner.
And he did like, I don't know if he was always searching for family, but he had those groups that he was a part of that we seen in Clone Wars with Bosk and Aura Singh and all that, and like there's always something with that. So
I went and watched that. I was like, this train heist scene is reminding me too much of that Clone Wars the episode, so I went and rewatched that just to get a feel before this. But yeah, I mean, they don't have much to offer other than, here, we'll guide you to get your own gaffy stick, and it ends up giving him more than that. He gives him a family, something that he's never had.
Yeah,
and I think this is really special now to Boba Fett. It's teaching him a ton. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
And by the way, I'm realizing that he does the whole train heist with his like trainer gaffy stick, not with like the one that ultimately everybody else is sort of proud to carry around their own gaffy stick. He's got the bland one that doesn't have the pointy end and things like that. And this is almost like a trial to test out his ability to handle himself with that. But going back to what you said, Ben, I totally agree. I feel like maybe it's not what he planned in terms of when he pictured himself being part of something or part of a family or whatever, but it just seems to fit right away from when he first takes that sip of water from the black melon. Like, you can just see a satisfaction on his face of like, all right, this feels right. There's something about this that feels like home.
Yeah. Completely agree. Such a good episode.
Oh yeah.
Parting thoughts? That was my parting thought, so I'm gonna just be quiet. But I'm glad that we were able to, still talk an hour and a half about this.
Yeah.
Two episodes.
We could have kept going too. We could have kept going, but
absolutely. I mean, these episodes are just packed with so much lore and of course awesome cameos from the comics, and just the just these character driven stories that they're doing in here. And I love that we at the very end we got that it was very much like a Haka
I was thinking that. Yeah, wasn't that cool?
Yeah, that was neat. Again, it was his initiation. It was like he's home. And he probably feels like he's home, and it's great because he's had his armor taken from him. Like, his way of life as a bounty hunter is kind of on pause, and he's found more than he bargained for, I think, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So it's shaping his character even better than I think he could have imagined. It's more than I thought. I mean, I thought we were just gonna get. I kind of expected a little of we're going to get some character development, but it's mostly just going to be him being really cool and flying and fighting left and right and just showing how cool he can be. But it's more than that. Yeah.
I'm so glad it's not just Armor Man doing pew-pews all over the place with his blasters.
Yes. More eloquently said than what Armor Man with pew-pews. I like that.
But yeah, I love the scene around the fire, the Haka scene. I liked how it started out with just a couple of them engaged in it, and then basically everybody got involved, and he kind of got lost in the crowd of like it visually it looked like he just became one of the Tusken Raiders in that moment. I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. I'm super excited to see in the flashbacks what it is that brings him away from the Tusken Raiders. Like, what is it that gets him to wander off? And we've talked about this a little bit, but at some point he goes off and decides he wants to be this crime boss. Like, what happens between now and then? And I'm also really excited to see what other characters we might see pop up. Like who, and I personally was thinking, I don't know how it would happen. I personally was thinking about a lot of, in the last season of The Mandalorian, Ahsoka looking for Thrawn. And I wonder if we might see Thrawn or something, and or a character like that pop up. I think they just showed us that anything can happen. And so now my imagination's kind of running wild. But I love this second episode. And I feel like everybody who was hating on that first episode came around after this one.
Yeah, and this is why, Star Wars fans need to, or some Star Wars fans need to calm down.
Yes.
Be patient.
Let things, be patient.
Right.
Let things play out. This is a season opener. It's not the finale.
Yes.
Right.
You gotta let it. Yeah. It's
six
literally called chapter 1.
Isn't it crazy how just people who can't binge a whole season of a show at once, like if you have to wait a week to watch it, like people wrote off the whole series after the first episode. Yeah. And it's like, you've seen 30 minutes of what's going to be hours of content.
Yeah, well, calm down. This ain't Cobra Kai, where you can just do it all in one shot.
Right.
Give it a minute. Patience.
Well, they did that for, I think they did that for Hawkeye. Now it came out with the first 2 episodes, but I think even after that, people were like, "Oh, where is this going?" And then by the end, you're like, "That was amazing!" Right? I loved Hawkeye personally.
It was cool. It was cool.
It was good stuff.
It's not heavy like this, I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh no. I mean, it's completely different genre, even. But it's still the point of like, be patient. Like we're getting used to the fact that these are episodic stories, that these are comic book like stories, where you get
gotta wait for the
little
next
bit
issue
here,
to drop,
and then you got to wait a month or so or a week, and you'll get the next one, right?
Yeah.
So let's all just be patient. Lots to look forward to in the next few weeks. Yeah. We'll cover them as part of the our episodes. They'll be the next one is going to be on chapters 3 and 4, and we look forward to bringing that to you later on. But Jan, what else do you want to say as we
let's talk socials real quick. So you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter at Starbros Podcast. Also follow at Broaxium on Twitter, and all of our past episodes and a lot of other really cool Star Wars content like the quick shots are on the Broaxium YouTube channel. Chris, do you want to share your socials real quick?
Yeah, you can find me at Chris Ryons. My last name is spelled Ryons. You can find me on Twitter, maybe sort of on Instagram. I'm not there as much as I used to be. And I'm barely on Facebook. But Broaxium is on all of those, and that's all taken care of. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and hey, Chris, thank you for being our first bro host as part of our podcast. We're really excited about that.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me, guys.
We're honored. And I've told the story before about how we used to sit around and watch the Broaxium YouTube channel when we were first starting our podcast, and used to talk about how cool it was and would geek out whenever a new quick shot would come out. So it's always a little bit surreal to be able to talk Star Wars all together. And it's just a real pleasure to have you on. So thanks for making the time.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you guys need me on, I got you.
So would you, Jan, it's up to you. You're the one who closes us out this time. So do you want to delegate that, or do you want to take it?
I do want to delegate that to Chris.
Your turn, Chris. Remember, we're kind of raspy throat. We gotta delegate.
Take a sip of your spotchka.
Red spotchka.
Red.
Yeah.
Warm up the vocals.
I guess I'll just say it's a wrap.
Yes. Perfect. Well done, dude. Well done.
Thank you so much.